Famer Eric Dickerson.
What's up, everybody? I'm Matt Leinart, 2004 Heisman Trophy winner.
Hey, I'm Zane Gonzalez.
Hi, I'm Matt Barry from ESPN. You're getting ready to watch one of the best college football podcasts ever. It's the Harris Highlight Show.
You're watching the Harris Highlight Show.
And you're watching the Harris Highlight Show.
And you're listening to the Harris Highlight Show. Enjoy it.
Na 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 na.
Coming to you live from Monrovia, California. This is another remote edition of the Harris Highlight Show. Joining me this week is our college football analyst, Josh Schaefer, our college football expert, Lyle Goldstein, our executive producer, Brady Klein, and I am your host for the evening, Blake Harris. Gentlemen, it's an hour earlier this week, so hopefully we got people still coming in. How's everyone's Tuesday going? It's currently 101 here in good old Monrovia, California, so right before we started, when the intro was going, I forgot that we were turning on the air conditioning, and I had to go and close my windows, or else it would be super hot in here. So I barely just made it. But Josh, I know you're about 45 minutes away. So how are you hanging in there with this heat? As if we didn't experience 100 plus in Tempe for 4 years.
I know, but the weather here is so unpredictable sometimes. Like last week, it was down low 80s, and then it's hey, here's 101 on Tuesday, and you're like, oh, cool, thank you. So I just turned my air on too, and it was 92, 93 inside the house and 101 outside. So I was like, yep, it's time. So once I close that door, this is the hottest room in the house. So every time we do our show, I turn the air on 5 minutes before I come in here and get ready, because it's just, I'm going to bake in here. So I'm ready.
I know Lyle in Seattle has one weather all year, and it's raining. Lyle, is it raining in Seattle right now?
Funny, it's not. It was raining all last week, and then it's in the mid 70s today. I don't know. When I woke up this morning, it was high 50s, which is nice.
That's what it is. It's 61 degrees and sunny right now. Perfect, beautiful fall day for some football.
Wow. Yeah, exactly. Wait, so you guys are still getting 100 degrees in October? That seems late, even for California.
It's 100 in Arizona right now too.
Well, I know in Arizona, but Southern California, I thought it usually cools off by now.
Yeah, it's not ideal, but guys, we have a jam-packed show. I mean, it's the best thing about having college football. Fact, there's actually a lot to talk about, and we got a lot to talk about. But before we get to, we got some ground rules. First and foremost, follow us on Twitter at the @HHShow_. Not only is it a must follow if you like the show, if you just enjoy college football content, this past week, and essentially all four of us were running the Twitter account here and there. Essentially anything we found that was interesting, fun, interactive, we were tweeting it. There was 30 tweets or something. I was gone for most of the day. I was at IKEA. I was all over the place, and I come back and I'm like, hey, did you guys see that this happened earlier? And they're like, did we see it? We already tweeted it. So everyone was on top of it. So again, if you like college football content, again, you keep up to date with us, the show and everything, but there's some quality stuff there that you don't want to miss. So make sure to follow us on Twitter at the @HHShow_ and follow us on Instagram at Harris Highlight Show. Again, it's not as interactive as it is on Twitter, but if you have an Instagram, this way we can keep you guys posted with the latest and what's going on. So make sure to follow us over there. You guys can listen to our show on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. The link to that is in the description below. You guys can support the show on Super Chat. Josh has a brand new mic. Lyle has a brand new mic. Brady and I, well, we, invest in the show unlike the two others. So we have fantastic mics. I'm just messing with these guys. But all the donations from the Super Chat has gone to getting these guys new mics and helps us do the show on a week-to-week basis. So if there's a question you guys have for us, if there's something you'd like to hear us discuss, I mean, again, it was a jam-packed college football weekend. We have about 8, 9, 10 games, players, and everything we're going to be talking about. So if you'd like to hear our personal opinions on it, you guys can do that in the Super Chat. Again, it could be $1, $2, however much. It helps the channel. It helps the show, and it gets us to talk and interact with you guys more. You guys can also become a Patreon member for as little as $1 a month. You guys get awesome benefits. You guys can get a Zoom session Q&A with us. You guys can be entered in all these contest giveaways. We have a fantasy league that we are doing with Patreon members. We have plenty of more stuff like that coming in the near future. So again, it's as little as $1 a month, maybe $3 a month. You guys can help support the show, and also exclusive behind the scenes benefits that only you guys can get. But guys, I think that's that's all we got. Let's get to some college football news if you guys are ready.
I'm ready.
Quick, Blake, I'm just wondering.
Never
I think
mind.
the three of us were talking about this while you were at IKEA. How many meatballs did you eat on Saturday?
0 because it was closed.
What? Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, unfortunately, I was looking forward to it too. I was gonna get a hot dog because their hot dogs are only like $1, I guess, and I was gonna get some of the meatballs, which I've never had. I've heard great things about the meatballs. My dad loves the meatballs. I've heard nothing but excellent things. Unfortunately, I'm gonna have to wait to try the meatballs the next time. But hey, if you guys have tried IKEA meatballs, let me know how they are. But guys, first and foremost, we got to talk about this because I think, in my opinion, this was the biggest takeaway, especially for me. Not necessarily maybe like the biggest game or anything, but this is the one that immediately I want to talk about. In Mississippi State, they knock off LSU, the defending national champions, on the road. LSU is ranked number 6, Mississippi State unranked. The head coaching debut in the SEC of Mike Leach, KJ Costello, who came over from Stanford. He was the quarterback. Now, we talked about it in previous shows, going back to, I think, even back when we were at ASU. What could we expect from Mississippi State? You were getting Mike Leach, who only, throws the ball 70 times a game with the air raid offense. We knew what we were going to be getting there. KJ Costello was, a highly touted quarterback when he went to Stanford. I believe he was a 4-star. He was higher than the rankings. He had a pretty solid season 1 year at Stanford, but injuries kind of really hurt him. Then he decided to transfer to Mississippi State, and we were eager to see how this duo would look because, again, we know KJ Costello is a good quarterback. We know Mike Leach, what he's done with his quarterbacks at Texas Tech, Washington State, and I think that this is going to be probably the most exciting team in the entire country. KJ Costello, first off, Mississippi State, they knock off LSU. They surprise everyone. KJ Costello comes out, throws for 623 yards, the 11th most in college football history, the most ever in the SEC, the most ever in a debut for a team. He pretty much exceeded all of our expectations, I think. So, guys, I just want to, a lot of takeaways here. I guess your takeaway is just what your thoughts were on the game. Costello, Leach, thoughts on Mississippi State as a team. We could talk about LSU and what we can expect from them. But Josh, I'll throw it to you. Like I said, there's a lot of things to discuss about this game. But what would you like to bring up first?
Yeah, and I think that obviously it was very impressive. I think going into the game, we obviously all talked about it. We put it out on Twitter too that we all thought that LSU was very clearly missing Joe Brady rather than just Joe Burrow. I also think they were missing Clyde Edwards-Helaire. It was very clear that they were missing a lot of assets from last year's team. And I know obviously they had some guys opt out, and I don't want to take anything away from Mississippi State because, the fact of the matter is that they went in to LSU and they beat the defending national champions who obliterated everybody last year on their home field in front of a crowd with a brand new quarterback, with brand new players all over the place and a brand new head coach. So that's number one, and that needs to be commended because that's super impressive. What they did was incredible. Let's get out of the way early. Here's my thing. He threw for 623 yards or whatever it was. That's impressive. He also threw the ball 60 times, which is good for him because he needs to be in an offense where he can just sling the ball all over the place, and he's going to get that at Mississippi State. My concern is he completed like 34 passes of his 60. So I don't think that's a huge concern, especially in his first game in that offense when they beat the defending national champions on the road. I think it's worth taking note of the fact that he completed roughly 50% of his passes and he threw the ball 60 times. So that's number one. Number two is they ran the ball for 9 yards. 9. Like LSU did not run the ball very well either. But my concern is that they did not run the ball well against LSU, which I didn't really expect them to, but they also have Kylan Hill on that team, a guy that I think I had in my top 5 SEC players. I think you guys did too. Kylan Hill is phenomenal. So I think that is an issue if you can't run the ball very well against a fairly depleted LSU team. But the one thing that I do want to point out about Kylan Hill is they said, oh, darn, the run's not working. So you know what we're going to do? Kylan Hill is going to be our top target. So he didn't just throw the ball downfield, but he also checked down to Kylan Hill. They figured out different ways to get the ball into Kylan Hill's hands, and it worked. So bottom line, I have some concerns with the team moving forward against teams like Alabama and Georgia and Auburn, these teams that do have good defenses that aren't as depleted as LSU going through the season. So I'm not trying to pump the brakes. I just want to be aware of where Mississippi State might struggle moving forward. With that being said, I do think it's impressive how they immediately realized that the run wasn't working, so they figured out other ways to get the ball in their best players' hands. And I think that Mike Leach did a great job. So I think it's a good win.
Let me quickly ask you this, Josh. And you were talking about Costello, and he only completed a little bit over 50% of his passes. He completed 36. I think that's what you said, 36 passes. If he's completing 36 passes and he's going for 623 yards, what's he going to do if they let him air it out even more and he's completing even more passes?
But how much more could you possibly throw the ball?
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, if they throw the ball that amount, or maybe a little bit less each game, and he's completing more passes than he did this past weekend, assuming he can improve as the season goes on, it was just his first game at Mississippi State. That's scary. Like, I have a couple takeaways from this game. And number one is not just all the guys that LSU lost, not just the fact that their team and roster is basically entirely turned over, but KJ Costello's life was made a little bit easier on Saturday, considering the best defensive player in college football did not play. So one side of the field that Derek Stingley usually shuts down was open for business for KJ Costello on Saturday because Stingley was out for the game. Having said that, all the questions were, can Mike Leach's offense work in the SEC? Can an air raid offense that worked against Pac-12 defenses work in the best conference in college football? Through 1 week, look, there's a long way to go, but through 1 week, our answer is yeah. KJ Costello is a guy that has a chance to be a high draft pick, especially if he has a good year with the arm and the build and the decision-making that he has to offer. And if he's doing this all year, like, SEC teams better be worried. I mean, Mike Leach is playing modern-style football. He's airing it out a lot. And if it works against a team like LSU, which granted, yeah, they were way better last year than they usually are, who they usually are is not a 15-0 national championship team. They usually win 9 to 10 games, and they play either in a New Year's Six Bowl or in one of those Tier B bowls like the Outback Bowl. Despite that, they're still a competitive team every year. I still think LSU is going to win most of their games this year. But there's a big turnover. And in terms of Mississippi State, they're the up-and-comers here through week one, and they've got everybody's attention now. If this is what KJ Costello's doing in week one, let's see what these guys do the rest of the year.
I'll say this pretty quickly is pump the brakes. It's pretty easy to just, overreaction. What's today? Tuesday. So most people do an overreaction Monday. We're going to have an overreaction Tuesday. Guys, just calm down for a minute. 14 lost starters, losing the number one pick, losing the Heisman. We talked about this in weeks past. Miles Brennan had one of the hardest jobs in all of college football coming in. They still have one of the best staffs in all of college football in Ed Orgeron. They have Bo Pelini as their defensive coordinator. We remember him for so long in the Big Ten. Just calm down. It's kind of hard to beat any team, no matter who it is, when your quarterback throws for 623 yards. It doesn't matter.
ASU did it when Patrick Mahomes came here that one day and threw for 7 touchdowns.
Yeah, but they also scored 8 touchdowns.
So are you suggesting pump the brakes on LSU season or pump the brakes on the Mississippi State hype?
Neither. Oh. I'm saying pump the brakes on, maybe LSU was a one-year wonder. That's what I'm saying pump the brakes on. It's their first game of the year. And do you know how hard it was? Say they lost 7 starters. That's a big chunk for any team. They lost 14 starters. And so imagine trying to go through the offseason that they just had, or they didn't have, with 14 new position players. You're going to need to find a silver lining in this because, we saw NFL teams in week one play like garbage, and those are NFL teams. And now look at that. They're back. They're fine. They're better. So it's a little overreaction on maybe LSU is playing terrible. I think you're fine. But I will say this about KJ Costello. First quarterback, first team to beat the defending national champion in the first game since Notre Dame beat Tom Brady in 1999 when Michigan won 1998. So, hey, maybe KJ Costello has a better starting career than Tom Brady in college.
I just want to go to this because I looked up Mississippi State's upcoming schedule. KJ Costello, this guy is going to be getting ready to light it up for weeks to come because up next he's got Arkansas, then he's got Kentucky. So right there, he could easily go 500-plus yards in back-to-back games there, I think. And, looking at the rest of the schedule, he's got some tough ones, but then he still has Vanderbilt, at Ole Miss, Missouri. So there's a chance KJ Costello, I don't know how well Mississippi State's going to do this year, but I think there's a solid chance this guy is going to be putting up video game game numbers on a week-to-week basis. But just before we move on with this, I think we all talked about this in previous shows. LSU, they're not going to be a top 5 team yet again in the country. I mean, they lost too much. They had so much firepower on offense and defense. They all lost in the draft. They're still going to be a good team, but I thought them being ranked, I think, 6th to start the season, that was a little too generous. I don't think they're the 6th best team, and we saw that it's going to be tough. Now, I like what Lyle brought up is that they were missing Derek Stingley. I don't know how much of a difference that would have made. I mean, the way they were going, I still think KJ Costello, maybe he doesn't finish with 623 yards. He probably still finishes with over 500 yards. And the fact that, Kyle and Hill are arguably one of the best running backs in the entire country, all of his damage is in the passing game. Just imagine once they get him running the ball, even if he gets 15 carries a game, it's going to be tough to stop. So really looking forward to seeing what Mississippi State can do the rest of the season. Again, I don't think they're going to be competing for the SEC because they do have some tough SEC games. But yeah, again, I just think KJ Costello on a week-to-week basis is going to be doing this. Mike Leach, as we've seen with them posting these videos of him like on this little mini pirate ship saying hop on the bandwagon, they're going to have fun. And I think Mississippi State is going to be, like I said, a fun team to watch moving forward in 2020. Also, are you guys hearing some like static on your end? I just want to know if it's you guys or me. All right, so hopefully drop a comment down below if you guys can hear the static, or maybe that's just on our end. Before we move on to our next topic, guys, here's one to quickly mention because this actually wasn't in our show rundown. This comes from our man, Connor. By the way, Connor, I like how you said, good game, my team sucks. For those of you that are interested in our Patreon League, we are going to give an update in our next segment how that went this past weekend. I handed Connor the L. There's no way around it. I mean, my team dominated his. So, Connor, again, we had a great, valiant effort on your end, but unfortunately, you guys couldn't come out on top. The Brock Hoffman revenge story against the NCAA has begun, and my Hokies are second in the country in rushing. Thoughts on the Hokies and what is wrong with Florida State? So I think we're going to get to Florida State in a bit when we talk about that Miami game, but in regards to Virginia Tech, I mean, we talk about all these teams in the ACC. Again, I think we're going to get to when we talk about Miami, other teams competing in the ACC. Virginia Tech has quietly been a really good team so far early on. Again, it's early in the season, but they have been impressive. And I was going to say, I didn't know where they were in rushing. I just looked at, the box score, what they did this past weekend. They have been dominating on the ground. That's where all their damage has been coming. As you said, Connor, second in the country so far in rushing yards, which again, through a few weeks in the season, I'll take that stat with a grain of salt. But what Virginia Tech is doing on the ground, they had 314 rushing yards this past weekend against NC State, NC State's no slouch. They're a formidable opponent in the ACC, and they're putting up 300-plus rushing yards, averaging nearly 8 yards a carry, 3 rushing touchdowns. So Virginia Tech, I'm sure once Virginia Tech starts playing better teams, we'll be talking about them more. But yeah, guys, as Connor said, second in the entire country in rushing yards, and potentially making a small, slight push in the ACC.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing that's tough is I think we're seeing a couple of teams who we thought were going to be more competitive in the ACC kind of looking like maybe they aren't going to be as competitive. And on the other side of that, we've got teams like Virginia Tech and we've got teams like Pitt that I think we're going to talk about later that might actually be a lot more competitive in the conference than we originally thought. Like Louisville on one side, 3 games in, and suddenly I'm not so hot on Louisville. Spoiler alert for later in the show. And I think there's some talent there, but likewise for Virginia Tech, and they're proving it with the run game right now. So we'll see moving forward. Dude, I've opened my mouth twice. Like, come on. Like, what are the chances? I'm not gonna hop on the bandwagon yet for Virginia Tech, but I'm gonna sit back and I'm gonna watch, and I'm going to be cautiously optimistic about what that run game can do in the ACC. I also think, as we've learned so far, my hot take, again, we'll talk about it soon. The ACC is no longer the worst Power 5 conference in the country, at least for this year. But I guess more on that later.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I have to say about Virginia Tech is they have Pitt, Miami, Clemson 3 weeks in a row at the end of the year. So I think they'll – yeah, that is kind of rough. I think they'll be good. Now, it's how do you define good? And I definitely think they'll be over 500, but there's going to be some tough games that they have to go through. That's where they'll really have the chance to kind of prove themselves.
I got nothing.
Because we all took it from Brady. We all took it from Brady.
And just
so,
to shorten
look
the segment because we need to shorten the segment.
All good. So, but yeah, for some reason, I thought this was Virginia Tech's second game, but I guess maybe they had one of their games canceled. So they've actually only played one game. So even then, they're already second in the country in rushing yards. So that's impressive. All right, guys, the next game that we got to get to, Oklahoma. They lose to Kansas State for the second consecutive season. Who would have thought? I mean, it's one thing for Oklahoma to lose back-to-back years to, a formidable team. Kansas State, they've been middle of the pack, okay. No real expectations for them this year. They lose to Kansas State. So first and foremost, guys, obviously in a season like this, everyone still has a chance at the playoff. I'm not going to say Oklahoma's out, but I mean, they fell, I think, to like 17 or 18 in the AP poll, which again, it doesn't mean anything because the college football playoff rankings are the most important, but they take a massive fall. Just overall, your thoughts on Oklahoma, because we've seen them, 2 games now. The first game against Missouri State, that doesn't count. We throw that out the window. They play a decent team in conference, and they lose. And not only did they just lose, they had a 3-touchdown lead. They blew it. I believe the last 5 possessions of the game, it was something like a fumble, 3 punts, and an interception. So in the crunch time, they crumbled. Oklahoma, they lost a lot of key pieces, on the team from last year. They have Spencer Rattler, who's freshman quarterback coming in, no real experience. Are you guys concerned at all with Oklahoma, or just like last year, how they did lose to Kansas State and they ended up being just fine? That was their only loss, leading up until the playoff.
Yeah, I'm concerned. I think that I just went back and looked at my prediction. I had Oklahoma at 9-1 in conference, and I didn't read my full preview for them. I could have done that before the show, but it's fine. I thought they were a team that could get upset by somebody, and like a team like Iowa State or Kansas State. But I didn't expect that it was actually going to happen this early. I predicted them to go 9-1, and that was kind of more of a safe pick, like they'll lose to somebody and, we'll see who it is, rather than they're going to lose to Texas and only Texas. But yeah, I mean, I had a feeling that a game like this was going to happen, and sure enough, it does pretty early. My biggest concern is it's very rare to see somebody, especially a young quarterback, or just a quarterback in general, but a young quarterback specifically, throw for 387 yards and 4 touchdowns. Lose a game, number one. But number two, which is a bigger concern, look like a freshman. And there were moments last year when Keaton Slovis looked like that. There were moments last year where Hank Bachmeier looked like that. And that's what, to me, Spencer Rattler has been. So congratulations, you can beat up on Missouri State or whoever all you want. But when you get in conference and you put up numbers like that, but still throw 3 picks, still make really bad decisions, still not really lead that offense down the field effectively, that's a concern. And I know that a lot of people have jumped on the Spencer Rattler bandwagon very early because he was such a highly touted prospect. He was really good in high school in Arizona at Pinnacle. And when he came in last year, obviously he had a really good quarterback to sit behind and learn from, and a really good head coach and a good passing game coordinator. But bottom line, like, he came in and threw for all those yards, but he still looks like a freshman to me. He's still making those dumb mistakes for me. And I know it's early, that can change, and I'm sure it will. I just think it's very rare that you see the number 2 team in the country lose like that, give up 17 unanswered points in the fourth quarter to a team that they should have beaten handedly, and you have a guy throw for 400 yards and 4 touchdowns and look so inexperienced. So I think that's a concern.
How Brady pumped the brakes last week, I'm going to pump the brakes too, not on Oklahoma, but just on Spencer Rattler. Only because, yeah, this was not exactly his shining moment. 3 picks, he had some responsibility, and he had a hand in for the loss for Oklahoma. There's no doubt. He looks like a freshman. It was his first real big game. It was his first conference game. Obviously, Missouri State's just a tune-up game for Oklahoma. Having said that, if this is his bad game, kind of like how we said, if Costello starts to complete more passes, what can his ceiling be? Well, if Rattler just cuts down his picks the rest of the year, where can his season go? Because the rest of his line is 400 yards and 4 touchdowns. Now, obviously, along with that comes 3 picks, and that's got to change. But if he changes that and he cleans up some of the decision-making, I think he's still in for a very promising career. In terms of Oklahoma, this one I'm with Josh on. I mean, look, we all had them winning the Big 12 at the start of the year, and we all had them potentially making the college football playoff. I am not 100% off that train, but I'm more than 50% out on that after what we saw this week. Everybody hears me trash on Big 12 defenses pretty constantly when this conference comes up. And until somebody proves me otherwise, here I go again. Like, you guys were up 21 points in the fourth quarter, Kansas State had a 21-point comeback.
Yeah.
And Oklahoma State just absolutely blew it. I mean, Oklahoma was on full display of this week, but it's almost every team that's the same way. You could say the same thing about Texas Tech in the Texas game, but for the sake of this segment, I'll stick on Oklahoma. They don't tackle. They give up chunk plays. Teams score at will. I mean, it's ridiculous. Like, and this is what happens to Oklahoma when they play superior teams in the playoff too. They just get absolutely stomped on because they can't play defense. Here we saw it against the Kansas State team who, despite beating Oklahoma 2 years in a row now, the Sooners should have beat. And this defense could not stop anybody. They have a freshman quarterback. Yes, he's going to make some mistakes despite being a really high prospect, but the defense could not step up and make a stop for their lives when they needed to most. I mean, I think Josh kind of foreshadowed it a minute or two ago when we were talking about some who he thinks the worst Power 5 conference is. I'll jump on his back with this one too. Like, it's the Big 12. They don't win playoff games. They don't play defense. And now you got your best team in the conference losing week 1 to an inferior opponent that wasn't even ranked.
I'll jump in quickly here and say this is you guys have hit both really good points all on the team as a whole, the conference as a whole. But I'll say this about Spencer Rattler, like Lyle said, pump the brakes on it. Like I said a little bit ago, pump the brakes on it. He is such a great recruit. He is a great athlete. He has good football awareness. He has good football IQ from what we've seen so far. He is a great, one of the best quarterback producing coaches in all of college football. One interception was his fault. He forced a throw. It didn't work out well over the middle. One of the other ones, his pocket collapsed and got hit in the arm as it was throwing, and the ball just fell into the defense's hands. And the other one was just a misread on the wide receiver as well. So listen, I'm not saying like, hey, 3 interceptions, but only one was his fault. 3 interceptions is 3 interceptions. And that's something you have to cut down on, obviously, if you want to be considered a great quarterback in all of college football. So it's one of those things where you need to keep believing in Spencer Rattler. If you're Lincoln Riley, you need to keep your belief, keep your faith in this kid, because you saw what he could do in high school. You all saw the videos. You all saw the highlights. You all saw the Twitter videos. You saw everything about him in high school. In the offseason, you saw everything. So he needs to somehow live up to that hype. I think, we should be concerned about Oklahoma. They've lost some big pieces as well to the draft. So it's going to be interesting to see where the Sooner team can go from here.
Yeah, I think thinking back on our predictions, I think I had him losing one game. Josh said he has him losing one game. I think we all might have had him losing one game, but I'm sure when we did that, it was either to Texas and Oklahoma State and Iowa State, maybe something like that, not at Kansas State. So yeah, Oklahoma, they can bounce back. Because like I said, they lost to Kansas State last year. They still made the playoff. They can still make the playoff this year, but with so many random, who knows what can happen in the Big 12 this year with how it's going. They could lose to Baylor. I was going to say they can lose to Kansas. That ain't happening. But, anything can happen in the Big 12. So I think Spencer Rattler, he's going to have to be fantastic the rest of the way. Lyle hit it perfectly when we talked about with KJ Costello, where if this is Spencer Rattler's worst game, where he's throwing for nearly 400 yards with, 4 touchdowns, where, as Brady said, some of the interceptions were necessarily entirely his fault, you'll take that any day of the week. But Oklahoma, they lost a lot last year, and who knows? It's going to be an interesting thing to see moving forward with the college football season. But a team, the next one to talk about, guys, and that's Texas. We were talking about this in the group chat, and when they were down 15, or what's it, Brady?
I just found all of our predictions. If you want me to say the Oklahoma predictions we had,
was it all one loss?
You had 10-0. Josh and Lyle had 9-1. I had them at 10-0.
Interesting. I thought I had Texas going undefeated.
Nope.
Oh, are you sure?
I'm 100% sure.
Huh. Who knows?
I'm looking at the text you sent me. So,
the text?
The
graphic. Who knows? Maybe I put something wrong.
I'm
Texas,
sorry.
Guys.
Hey, I was wrong.
Oh.
I was wrong. You sent me 2 because you made a corrected graphic.
Aha. All right.
Yeah,
So we're both wrong. We're both right. It's all good. Guys, Texas, when they were down 15, I did text to the chat and I did post on our Twitter account. I said, Texas is going to come back and win this game. Now, I thought they were going to come back and win the game because, they were just going to get a three and out stop on defense. And because they still had a few timeouts, I think, and there were still 3.5 minutes left. I didn't think they'd come back and win because Texas Tech would have the biggest collapse I have ever seen in a college football game. I'll give them one thing. The onside kick, there's nothing they could do about it. That was literally the most perfect onside kick you could ever ask for in a college football game. That was spot on. So I'm not going to give Texas Tech any grief on that. But the way they played defense at the end and the play calls that they ran, I am speechless with how they ended. Texas, I think we said this in the group chat as well. Texas Tech lost that game. Texas did not win that game. However, though, Texas, they still come back. They won the game. They're still undefeated. Guys, we all know, I think we were all, I don't know if Lyle was watching that one live, but the three of us, I know we're guaranteed watching it live. We know what happened. Are you going to be giving Texas, I guess, more props for having the ability to come back in a game like that? Or is them being down 2 touchdowns to Texas Tech, who, by the way, almost lost to Houston Baptist last week, does that concern you more than the comeback itself?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I tweeted right after the game. After watching that performance, there is nothing you could do to convince me that Texas is back. I think you said it well. Texas Tech lost that game more than Texas won it. I actually don't agree about the onside kick. Went right through the dude's hands. That was poorly played on Texas.
But I'm saying the bounce, though, like the bounce
kick itself, the bounce, you could not ask for a better one. But it was a botched recovery by Texas Tech. That ball should not have ended up back in Sam Ehlinger's hands. So I think that was botched by Texas Tech. I think the play calling that they had at the end of the game. I mean, it's like they pulled away and had the lead, and then they were like, "Oh, the play calling that got us the lead. We're not going to do that anymore. We're gonna throw short of the sticks on 3 straight plays when we need to get a first down to move the chains, with no time left in a tie game. But let's throw short 3 plays in a row. Overtime, the play calling was horrendous. I don't know what they were doing. And then they got a second chance, right, on that 4th down play or whatever it was. They got a second chance and then choked on that play too. And then the defense, like, they were dropping everybody back in coverage the whole time. And it's like, look, like, prevent defense on that last play of the game and Texas has to throw the ball deep, fine. But when there's enough time on the clock for Texas to move the ball downfield at the end of the game, and you know that they're going to be moving the ball without going to the end zone right away, why are you in prevent defense? Why are you rushing 2 or 3 people every single play? Like, that is a situation where you should continue playing the defense that you've played all game to continue putting pressure on Sam Ehlinger because it worked for 3.5 quarters. But then at the end of the game, they changed their offensive play calling. They changed their defensive tactics, set everybody back in coverage, and Sam Ehlinger picked them apart. And I know by that logic, you think, well, if they're dropping everybody back in coverage, then Sam Ehlinger won't be able to throw the ball. Yeah, but he doesn't need to throw over that coverage. He doesn't need to throw all the way downfield in one play. He's throwing underneath. He's moving the ball effectively. He's getting first downs. He's getting out of bounds. Exactly. This isn't the NFL. And he didn't have any timeouts. I don't think. He might have had one. But again, like, Texas, even in overtime, Texas Tech was dropping everybody else back. I think that was a completely botched game by Texas Tech on the onside and the offensive play calling and in the defensive tactics. But I will give credit to Texas for showing the resiliency at the end of the game. Like, when they were given the opportunities, they took full advantage of it, and I think that's impressive. They just should not have been in that situation in the first place. I mean, Texas Tech absolutely blew that game. But credit to Texas for taking advantage of their opportunities.
I think Blake and Josh have covered a lot of it, but to bounce off the first thing Josh said, Texas is not back. And if anybody wants to try to make the argument, well, they made a huge comeback. Texas is back. You gave up 56 points. Yeah, but the offense was playing really well, and you gave up 56 points. You are not back after giving up 56 points. Like, you have to play 2 sides of football to win a football game. Usually, I guess, unless you play in the Big 12, which Texas does. But yeah, I think you guys covered it perfectly. Texas Tech absolutely choked that away. They could have handled the onside kick better despite it being a better bounce. The play calling in overtime was terrible on Texas Tech's part. And I like Alan Bowman a lot. I've talked about that. Outside of Rattler and outside of Ehlinger, my favorite quarterback in this conference is Alan Bowman. Mm-hmm. He had his struggles. Texas Tech, despite putting up a lot of points themselves, like the rest of the conference, could not play defense. And Texas took advantage. And when they had their opportunity to mount a comeback, they did. I think Sam Ehlinger is really good, and we've talked about that. He almost feels underrated in a sense in college football, and he had a good game this past Saturday. Texas as a whole is not back.
I will say this. The closest thing Texas has to being back is what you'll see this Friday when Blake posts the video of Josh and I playing NCAA against each other. That's a tease, Blake. You better post this video. It's on the internet now. You have to post it now. No, but the closest thing you'll see to Texas being back is a few years ago when Sam Ehlinger was like, hey, we're back. And then the rest of the conference and the country was like, ha, ha, ha. No, you're not. So
Wasn't that this January? Or no, that was
last January. They beat Georgia in the Sugar Bowl, I want to say.
Yeah. I can't. Dude, I'm so lost on time. I can't remember what year games were played and whatnot.
Mm-hmm. And so for this Texas team, obviously, like Lyle brought up a minute ago, is Bowman's a good quarterback. I've really enjoyed watching Bowman. Really,
it's 5 touchdowns.
It's tough to be a quarterback and not succeed at a Texas Tech offense. It's kind of like being a quarterback at a Washington State offense. You're going to get your passing yards, you're going to get your touchdowns, but you're going to get the wins. That's what's up in the air, literally and figuratively. So, I think it's one of those things where, like Josh said a few minutes ago, is Texas had their lead. They blew it, but when they needed to make that stand and make that comeback, they did. So props to Texas on the resilience that they had at this game, but that only gets you so far. That doesn't get you, 8, 9, 10 wins in a season. Resilience and having to fight from behind gets you maybe 4. So if this Texas team continues to have to, claw their way back into games or hold on to their shorts while the other team's flying back from 21 down, that's not going to bode well at the end of the year for Texas at all. Like any side of the ball. It doesn't matter if your offense is playing well and your defense is playing bad or vice versa. Both sides of the ball have to be playing very good football to maintain or to lose a 21-point lead, which Texas did.
Yeah, so Texas, again, great comeback, but Texas Tech, you kind of collapsed there. Some takeaways, guys, before. Those are kind of the games we wanted to go more in depth on, but some other takeaways. If you guys have any takeaways from this past weekend in college football, drop a comment down below. We'll throw some comments on the screen so we can briefly just mention them. But some takeaways. We talked about this, and I agree. I think I said this the other day. The Big 12, I think they're by far, the Pac-12 is not playing, so who knows at this point. But the Big 12 has been an absolute disgrace so far. You got Oklahoma, they lost to Kansas State. Texas, what happened here? Oklahoma State, they did win this past weekend, but this is back-to-back weeks where they haven't necessarily impressed me. I haven't been too impressed. Iowa State, we talked about it last week after, when they lost to Louisiana in week 1. We needed Brock Purdy and them to come out. They beat TCU by 3. I'm not necessarily certain how good TCU is going to be this year, so we'll see how that looks out later in the season. But Brock Purdy, I have the Joe Davis call just implanted in my head. What is he doing? Brock Purdy, I know some people had him as kind of like a mid to late first round draft pick in mock drafts for next year's draft. This guy has probably taken a tumble so far. He's probably a second, maybe third round pick. There's a lot of time to go, but he is tumbling down draft boards. He has not looked good. So the Big 12, I just wanted to briefly mention that as my takeaway before I go to some other ones I want to hear you guys' thoughts on is, overall, it's been an absolute mess so far, and hopefully they can bounce back. Something else I want to mention, guys, and we're going to be talking about them a little more when we get to our stars of the week, and that's Florida, guys. Florida, I had him as my preseason pick to make the playoff. But again, one game against, good old Lane Kiffin's Ole Miss Rebels. But quick, just, brief 15, 20-second takeaway, guys. What were your thoughts from the Florida Gators this opening weekend?
I'll say this very quickly. This is the best Florida team we've seen since 2007.
Yeah, I don't think that's an absurd take. I don't know. I'm curious to see what they do against more of the top teams in the SEC. No disrespect to Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin, but I'm really intrigued to see what we're going to get when they go up against the Auburns and the Georgias and the Alabamas of the world. I think Brady's onto something. I do think that this is probably the best Florida team we've seen since 2007, but only time's going to tell. And I think that Kyle Trask is the guy to move this team forward.
Yeah, I'll save most of my Florida stuff for when we get to our stars of the week, but I definitely think it's the best offense we've seen since Tim Tebow's been there. Best team, let me see a few more games, but for a Florida team that's kind of been the runner-up to Georgia in the East for a while now, after what we saw from Georgia on Saturday, I don't see any reason Florida can't win the East this year if they continue to play like this.
Right. So as we mentioned, we'll talk about Florida more. I kind of want to transition to what Lyle just said about Georgia. So I didn't know this going in because I missed the entire game, went and looked at the box score, and I saw that JT Daniels didn't play. So I guess JT Daniels had not been cleared yet. It looks like he's officially cleared. He'll likely be the starter for this upcoming week.
He also had a knee injury.
Yeah. So, but
it probably means he's still recovering from his ACL, if I had to guess.
Yeah. So Dewan Mathis, he got the start. By the way, incredible story with Dewan Mathis. I'm actually going to be posting a video about it this week, but he had emergency brain surgery last year. and now he was the starting quarterback for Georgia, but he got taken out. Stetson Bennett, he came in, he looked pretty good. But then again, it is Arkansas. There was concern when Georgia was down at the end of one, I will say that. But JT Daniels, again, I think we all can assume here that he'll likely be the starter for Georgia this upcoming week.
Yeah, at least it looks that way. I know that Kirby Smart said recently that he thought that JT Daniels was going to be cleared for the Auburn game, and I saw something that said that he always thought he was going to be cleared for the Auburn game. In the summer, I was reading articles that said he thought JT Daniels was going to be cleared by week 1. And obviously that wasn't the case. And I know that he still had something lingering with his knee. But there was a quote that did stand out to me that I jotted down. And this is from Kirby Smart. He said, I don't know how much that changes the picture in terms of reps and development, but we'll be looking at everybody across the board. And then he said that they need him to function effectively despite his knee. So I don't know if that means that he's probably not going to start even if he's cleared, or that he's going to get some action. You know, it's not determined how much it's going to be. But to me, that sounds like he'll play if he's cleared, but he might not be the primary guy they use, or he might not be the only guy they use, at least for this Auburn game. Hi, I'm still sitting here.
I was waiting to see if any of the guys. I mean, no. you probably took it from him. Wow, I just saw your message. And no, it's good. Looking at the rest, guys, some other notable things I just want to mention. Texas A&M, they just barely beat Vanderbilt, who I think is going to be one of the bottom teams in the SEC. So something to keep an eye on in regards to Texas A&M barely getting the win over Vanderbilt right there. Pittsburgh, I mean, this is a team I kind of mentioned briefly. We're going to be seeing a little more of Pitt later in the show for one of our segments, but Pitt, I mean, we've kind of been picking against them, I think, in all of our pick'ems so far. They're undefeated. They're looking good in the ACC. Another reason why we think the ACC might be one of the better conferences now is because they have so many teams now that look like they're going to be able to compete. UCF, the Knights, they're undefeated. Dylan Gabriel's looking like an early potential Heisman candidate. Do you think that UCF so far has shown and proven to be the group of 5 team to beat?
Yeah, probably. I'm going to go back to that real quick. I do not think the ACC is one of the top conferences in college football. I just think the Big 12 is that bad. So I just want to
so far, I mean, this year, they're not the worst anymore. Well, I guess it's easy to say top considering we haven't seen the Big Ten. We haven't seen the Pac-12 yet. I'm just saying because in the ACC this year, it's always been Clemson. But again, now we have Notre Dame. They're likely going to be competing for a playoff. North Carolina, expectations for them. Miami, high if they play. Miami,
they're back in practice this week. But anyway.
And then we got Pittsburgh, Louisville. I know they've kind of let us down again. I'm not saying they're the best conference, but they're definitely up there with the 3 Power 5 conferences we got. They're number 2, Josh. They're number 2.
They are.
Even at this rate, who knows with the SEC at this point? So who knows?
In terms of Pitt, I think that they beat a Louisville team that I'm no longer that high on. I still think Louisville's okay, but I think that that Pitt obviously, got the win and looked pretty good. Here's what's impressive though. So Pickett, the quarterback, he's been pretty solid. I mean, he doesn't have any really eye-catching numbers, but here's what stands out to me. He's been better than expected. But what's most important about this Pitt offense is that everybody touches the ball. Against Louisville, they had 5 dudes carry the ball, and they had 9 dudes catch the ball. And I think that's impressive because that's 5 different guys that are getting carries, including the quarterback. And you've got 9 different targets at the quarterback. And obviously, I didn't look at targets from the game. I just looked at the basic box score when I was trying to really look at his numbers and see if it's anything that really jumps off the charts to me. And it doesn't. But I think it's impressive that ignoring targets, 9 guys caught passes. And I think that's good when you have a quarterback that doesn't look for one guy all the time and can really move the ball around. And that's something we saw at ASU the past couple of years where very clearly, like, N'Keal Harry was the guy for Manny Wilkins, but he did throw the ball downfield to other guys. He did move the ball around a little bit, but he very clearly had one guy that was his roommate that he threw the ball to every single play. And I think that's a crutch for a lot of different quarterbacks in college football where, Pickett's not an incredible quarterback, nor was Manny Wilkins, but from Manny at an ASU perspective, for example, he's got kind of that primary target. Seems like Pickett doesn't have one. And I think that's a really good thing to see for a team that's trying to compete in the ACC that's won a couple of games against decent opponents.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is also, I was going to mention, they're missing their best player on defense, Jalen Twyman, who opted out. So, I mean, if they had him, again, I'm not. He's probably going to be a first-round pick, but again, I don't know how much of a difference he'd make in regards to their season, like how much overall better they would be. But the fact, again, they're down their best player on defense. It's impressive look because their defense has been. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but their defense has been kind of like what has been like the best part of Pitt so far this year, which is shocking.
I was going to say, and I want to say I had Pitt fairly well regarded when we did our ACC preview. I didn't have them winning 9 games or anything, but I want to say I had them 5th or 6th right in the middle of the conference, and it was because of their defense. Look, Pickett has experience like Josh talked about, and that's big being a senior. Even without Twyman, I mean, theyese guys are giving up 10 points a game without him. Granted, one game, yes, was against Austin Peay, but they're not giving up points either. Like they held Louisville pretty strong and that's an offense we thought was going to be pretty good. And this defense has been pretty strong. I don't think Pitt's going to win the ACC, but they're certainly going to compete in it.
Blake, you had Pitt at 5 and 6. Lyle or Josh, you had Pitt at 6 and 5. Lyle had him at 7-4. I had him at 6 and 5.
Okay, yeah.
Lyle was the highest. Yeah, I mean, should have given him more respect, but you got to give props to them. But again, we'll be bringing him up in a bit. I just have this right here, but I want to get Brady to load up this poll that we actually tweeted about. Then we can briefly mention this. So if you're following us on Twitter at the HH Show _, you guys saw this past weekend. What grade would you give yesterday's full slate of college football action? Now after receiving, I think about 1 million votes. People gave it an A- to an A+, which again, I don't know how you don't give it an A. I mean, this was arguably the best weekend of college football we could have asked for. Guys, it felt like an actual weekend of college football. The first few weeks, they didn't have that feel at all, at least in my opinion. But maybe it's just the SEC was back. This felt like actual college football. We actually had really good games. We had really good matchups. I know a lot of the stadiums in the South, they're having fans, but between what the fans have been and like the crowd noise that stadiums are pumping in, because for the most part we can't really see unless they like show a full wide view. For the most part, it sounds like a regular college football game. Yeah. A lot of these stadiums have the bands there. So overall, I thought this was fantastic. It felt like a normal college football Saturday. I just wanted to say that. But guys,
yeah, I agree.
I was going to say, before we move on to the next topic, it's the title of this video. Could the season be crazier than 2007? Many people consider the 2007 college football season to be the craziest, the most exciting, the most epic college football season of all time. We could be in store for that this year because we got, again, schedules all over the place. We got teams coming and going. We got, for the most part, empty stadiums, maybe like 15-20% capacity. People are going to be coming and going maybe from COVID. We already saw this past weekend with upsets, teams playing each other close, amazing stat lines. Do you guys think this season has the chance to potentially be crazier than that 2007 season where there was like that one weekend where like the number 1 teams kept losing, the number 2 teams kept losing, and all that kind of stuff?
I don't know. That was a wild season, and I think that this year has the potential. I mean, I think it already is. I think it is the most unconventional college football season we've had, and it's definitely the strangest. But I don't know. I think obviously conference play, because anything can happen in a conference game, and that's something that we've talked about 100 times about that as one of the reasons why we love Pac-12 football is it seems like even your top teams. I mean, ever since the 2000s, after that USC team was beating everybody, like since that USC team and that program has kind of dipped a little bit, like you have that in the Pac-12 where even number 1 Oregon's coming in, somebody can beat them. Like Oregon State's going to put up a fight for at least 2 quarters against Oregon. At least that's the kind of conference that you have in the Pac-12. And now I guess we see that in the Big 12 too. So conference play and conference only schedules creates that as an opportunity to just have chaos all the time in conferences. But I do think that we're missing something with a lot of these non-conference games that we were supposed to get this year. Because again, we've said it before, some of these non-conference games we were going to get this year were going to be insane, other than just our protected rivalries with like USC, Notre Dame, and the Georgia Tech and Georgias and stuff like that. We were missing out on some big time college football games out of conference that aren't protected rivalries. So I think those detract from it a little bit. This is definitely the most unconventional season we've ever had.
Yeah, I don't know if it's fair to compare it to 2007, especially since we don't really know what's going to happen with the Big Ten and the Pac-12 and with their 7-game schedules, just because it gives you less margin for error and it gives you less chance for error. So I think it's going to be a really good season, and teams are definitely on the balls of their feet this year with how crazy everything is. But to compare it to that year might be a bit of a stretch, at least right now.
Yeah, that's like saying, "Oh, is this team's defense better than the 82 Bears?" Like, it's tough to do. Like, that's like,
Well, that's why it's saying. That's why I'm saying. Could it be?
I know,
crazier?
and I'm saying,
Yeah.
I'm telling you, like, yeah, it very well could be, but for very different reasons.
Yeah.
You know, like Josh said a minute ago, like, hey, we're not getting a lot of these protected rivalries. I brought up something in our group chat over the weekend where we saw where all 90 teams are going to be bowl eligible, regardless of record. So unless you're, the top 4 teams in the playoff or New Year's Six bowl game, I think every bowl game should be either a non-conference game that we didn't get at the beginning of the year or a protected rivalry. Just
That'd be
my
cool.
quick proposal. And also for this season, I saw a stat the other day also where, like, this is the first time in, I want to say, like 20 years where the SEC has gone 7-7 on the same day. Blake, you look shocked. The SEC played the SEC. So this is the first time ever. Every single SEC team has gone 7-7. So they played each other. So there's no other way to do it. Yeah.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
So we'll have to wait and see. I mean, a lot in store, and we haven't even gotten the Big Ten and Pac-12 yet. One final thing, guys, before
MAC is
we
back,
move on.
baby.
The MAC and I think Mountain. I think they're all essentially coming back. Guys, before we move on to a few fun segments, I completely forgot that this was happening this weekend. North Dakota State's playing this weekend. We get the one Trey Lance game this weekend to see how he can do his drafts, improve his draft stock. I mean, I think he's already going to be probably a top 10 pick, but the thing is, I mean, it's Central Arkansas, who's a pretty decent team, I believe, in the FCS, I want to say. But this will be interesting because he was fantastic last year. Like, what was it, 40 touchdowns, no interceptions, something like that. If he comes out, has a fantastic game, he said he's good to go. But if he comes out, he has a bad game against Central Arkansas, maybe it could reflect his draft stock. So I think it's going to be a fun thing to talk about next week, depending on how he plays, what that means for his draft stock. But again, for those of you, North Dakota State, Central Arkansas, it's, a game that I don't know yet. I haven't looked if it's on ESPN or anything. I would assume it might be, but definitely take a look to see what time it is and what channel it's on, because it's going to be must-see, because Trey Lance, he has a lot to prove, so he's going to come out balling. But guys, it's time to move on now to some fun segments. But our first is our 4 stars of the week. Every week we pretty much pick a player, team, coach, anything you want, your notable star of the week. I think Brady actually made a nice graphic. Do you want to put it now? Do you want to save it for the end? Or do we go one by one? Now. All right, so once he gets it loaded, I don't know.
I'm also looking up. I don't know what channel the Central Arkansas game is on. I can't find
That's
that
all
for
good.
you.
So whoever wants to go first with their star of the week, you guys can take the helm.
All right, I'm going to jump in here first. I've got Trill Williams from Syracuse. This is the guy, I don't know if anybody remembers this last year or caught this last year. There's like an overtime game, and there's like a stripped ball or whatever, and they all get into the scrum or whatever. And homie Trill Williams strips the ball out from behind and then just bolts down the sideline for a game-winning touchdown. It was wild. It was bonkers, if you guys remember that. Anyway, Trill Williams. This week, 3 tackles. He had a 90-yard pick 6. He was the ACC Defensive Back of the Week. He was part of that Twitter play that we posted where they did like the Boise State lateral where they intercepted the ball, started running it back, stopped, and the guy flipped it to Trill Williams, and then he bolted for a touchdown.
Unnecessary, but amazing.
Unnecessary, but amazing. And he had a pick. I think that he's one of the more underrated defensive backs in the country. Talking to a couple of my buddies at Syracuse about him. I think he's probably one of their better players on the defensive side of the ball. But yep, Trill Williams, that's my star of the week this week. Again, going a little bit out of the box with it for a game that we didn't cover and maybe a lot of people didn't watch. But he's my star of the week because he kind of has the flair for the dramatic, and he had it with that pick 6.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Kyle Pitts here. And this kind of works out because Brady and I have 2 Florida guys. I have the receiver. Brady is the guy responsible for his big day. Look, this guy was going off. I couldn't even believe what I was watching in that morning game with Florida. I know people are high on Kyle Pitts. I'm high on Kyle Pitts. But what he showed is he's not just a tight end. I mean, he's the number 1 weapon on this team. And he's one of the biggest threats in college football. I mean, you look at the numbers, 8 catches, 170 yards, 4 touchdowns. This guy lines up everywhere. His position is listed as a tight end. This guy's basically a wide receiver. I mean, the comp he kept getting was Darren Waller, man, I see it. Like both those guys are big, they're fast, they line up all over the field, they catch everything that comes their way. Oh.
You good there, buddy? Hello?
I think he may have unplugged his microphone.
Lyle?
Oh no!
Lyle?
Oh no!
Lyle?
Josh, the purge is coming.
Oh, his computer died.
His computer died.
Hey,
That never happened on the show.
Do we have the Curb Your Enthusiasm music? 4 years. 4.5, almost 5. Blake, do we have the Curb Your Enthusiasm music anywhere? We need this going right now. So while Lyle picked Kyle Pitts, the wide receiver / tight end / ball catching extraordinaire,
yes.
We're gonna remove Lyle for the time being.
Bye, Lyle.
I'm going to go with Kyle Trask, the guy who was responsible for getting it to him. You know, if you guys noticed, none of us picked KJ Costello. We thought that was a too obvious one, so we wanted to spread the love and give some love to some of the other guys around the country. Kyle Trask, obviously, 30 for 42, 12 in completion. Some of them were drops. 416 yards, 6 touchdowns, and a 201.8 QBR. That's, I think that was number 1 or 2 this week in all of college football. So my star this week is Kyle Trask, very well deserving, and one of those guys to most definitely watch out for with this dangerously dynamic Florida team moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, I invested a lot in Florida this year. I mean, I said that they were going to be a playoff team. I said Kyle Trask was going to be a Heisman candidate, and he looked good. I mean, but again, when you have a tight end like Kyle Pitts, he's really helping. I'm going to go with Skylar Thompson. You look at the numbers. They don't, jump off the screen or anything, but this guy has now beat Oklahoma 2 years in a row. So 334 passing yards, 18 of 25. He had 1 touchdown, but he had 3 rushing touchdowns. So he had 4 touchdowns total. Guys, last year against Oklahoma, he threw for 213 yards with no touchdowns, but he had 4 rushing touchdowns. So he had 4 total touchdowns last year, 4 touchdowns this year. 8 touchdowns the last 2 years against Oklahoma, and he beats them in both games. So for whatever reason, Skylar Thompson, this guy has Oklahoma's number. He has shown up on the biggest stage both years. And again, 4 touchdowns in each game. That's remarkable, especially considering that 7 of the touchdowns. Oh, it's all good. But considering 7 of the touchdowns have been on the ground. So that's absolutely fantastic. And it looks like we're getting Lyle now at the bottom, device not connected. And here we go. Hey, welcome back, bud.
Welcome back.
Thanks.
All right, so we have
what did we learn?
Lyle, we've just sort of been sitting here in silence waiting for you to finish your talk about Kyle Pitts.
Oh, no.
What did we learn today, Lyle?
It's funny. I didn't think my computer battery was that bad, but I guess it was because it's only been unplugged for an hour. So now I know.
Now we know. Plug in before the show.
But Brady pretty much, I don't know if Lyle was done, but he pretty much capped things off when he talked about Kyle Trask. So those are our stars of the week. But guys, it is officially time to bring back a segment that you've all been waiting for. It's been too long. We are bringing back Uni Watch. We haven't done this in a while. We're essentially lots of great uniforms in college football. Each one of us, we pick our favorite uniform of the week. We share it with you guys. So, Brady, I know you're going to get the images up for whoever's going. So who wants to go first with their uniform of the week?
Blake, I think you should go first.
All right, I'll go first. So, Brady, if you can get up the photo, that'd be fantastic. Oh, these are so beautiful. Ole Miss. I don't know what the official name is for this kind of blue. I mean, I'm sure they have some cool, crazy one. So it's officially powder blue. Ole Miss, I mean, they've done this in the past where they wear these colored helmets, but it doesn't essentially match with whatever jersey combo they're wearing. Ole Miss, they've had some okay uniforms in the past, but these are by far the absolute best. This blue is perfect. I love it. I love the helmets. I love the white stripes on it. I love they don't have those stupid stripes on the side of their pants like every SEC team does for whatever reason. They're clean. They're crisp. Nothing too over the top. Simple. And I absolutely love these. This is a fantastic blue. It's my second favorite blue behind Dodger blue. But Ole Miss, well done. Make these your official uniforms moving forward, because whatever they wear moving forward the rest of the season, it's going to be a downgrade compared to these. Because well done, Ole Miss.
Did we send that tweet in our chat where like somebody pointed out that pretty much every SEC team just has
yeah
they just have stripes on their uniforms, that just don't match. And you know what? This is still one of them, but the color of everything like really makes it all a little better. Like, because this powder blue is great. But again, like their normal uniforms, they've worn that helmet that's a different color and has different striping than the jerseys. And when the jerseys are navy blue, and then they wear gray pants with like thick red stripes on them, and it's just like there's no consistency between any of these SEC teams. Have like none of them have matching stripes.
All right, who wants to go next?
I guess I'll go. Brady has I know what Brady's laughing at. Yeah, so I picked the TCU jerseys. I mean, they were pretty nice this weekend. I think Brady's laughing because he asked me, "What's your jersey pick of the week?" And I'm like, "Yeah, these guys could come out and play in white T-shirts for all I care. Like, as long as they're playing football." I don't know. I guess I never put that much emphasis into or that much like care into what jerseys teams are wearing. But maybe if fans want to vote on like a jersey of the week too, like if anybody wants me to make a poll on our Twitter account or just in the comments say like what their favorite jerseys were, I can be the voice of the fans or something like that. Just because I don't really look what's that?
I like that idea.
Yeah, just because I don't know. I don't put that much like emphasis or effort into like who has the best jerseys this week. But to be fair, when I saw these purple TCU jerseys, especially with the Horned Frog on the top of the helmet, like those were pretty nice.
We're like, all right, we're bringing back a segment that everybody's asked for 3 years, and Lyle's like, uniforms are stupid.
I don't know. I just hope they're playing football. That's all. Like, hey, if they go out in white T-shirts and play the football game,
that sounds like some stuff Nick Saban would say. Like, I don't care who they are. I just want to play some good football. I'm not going to tell you again, so quit asking. All right.
You say that, and then you text me. It's like that's a total football guy move right there.
Yeah. Josh, you or me?
Dude, I can go whenever.
You're going now, I guess.
All right. So
well, Brady chooses since he's loading the photos up.
So these are sick.
This is legit the best photo I could get from the game. There were no photos from the game.
Really?
Really.
Oh, that's tough. So that kind of detracts from it, if I'm going to be honest. But these Florida State all-white uniforms with the gold lids, I think are sick. I noticed. So you guys remember, like a couple years ago, they had the spears go all the way across the back of the helmet. So apparently they don't do that anymore, but that's fine. I know that Florida State fans don't like that new logo at all once they rebranded like 6 years ago or whatever. I know they don't like that logo because they like the old logo better and people don't like change, I guess. But if we're being totally honest, the new uniforms and the new logo are just significantly better than what they used to be. And these jerseys are clean, great numbers, love the garnet and gold. And the white pants with the white jersey, I think looks really sick. And then to top it all off, you've got that like metallic Vegas gold helmet. And I just think it's clean.
Yeah. I mean, they know Florida State all black combo like they did a few years ago, which were the absolute best, but combo. But no, these are nice. I think it would have been a little better though if that helmet would have been white, just because I'm a huge fan of the all white. I think any team essentially can pull off the whole icy combo, but again, I mean, it's a nice helmet combo. All right, Brady, let's see your uniform of the week.
You know, my uniform of the week was one of the ones that I was super high on all weekend and week leading up to it. Super cool to see. Someone should put this as their star of the week. I'm going with Pitt. You know, these uniforms to honor the steel workers in the city of Pittsburgh. It was that dark charcoal gray jersey and matching pants. You have the steel textured helmet. And if you can see on the logo opposite of the Nike logo, that's actually a little steel worker, like pounding steel. So super cool. Yeah, pound it. Hammer it.
Pound down.
Super cool. Super clean. I think, you know, some of the best alternates I've seen from Pitt in a very long time. You know, they have a really cool, normally the blue and the gold, but I think this is a really cool change of pace for them.
They look like Army.
Yeah, they were a lot like Armies, but I really like the texture of the helmet too. That's what did it for me. And the all black logo, the front facing Panther on it was what popped for me as well.
Yes, I mean those ones came out of nowhere too. It's just like Pitt posted, "Yeah, look where we're in today," and everyone's like, "Oh man, that's fantastic!" So some really good uniforms this past week, and so again, we're going to be bringing this back on a week-to-week basis, where we go over our favorite uniforms of the week. I kind of like what Lyle said, where you can like make a poll, pretty much asking the fans like what their overall favorite uniform was, so we can definitely do something like that.
Tweet us your favorites.
Yeah, just tweet us your favorites. Hit us up on Twitter at the HH_show_. Guys, we got one more segment before we move to our Q&A and our pick'ems. And this is a fun one because we got, where to go? We got Blake's Bets. Now, guys, this was a historic week for Blake's Bets because for the first time in Harris Highlight Show history, we went 5-0.
Let's go.
We went 5-0 this week for Blake's Bets.
You still need to tweet these out so people can do these. And I say people, I mean, I can follow along with these.
So I told you all last week, if you want to win some money, follow along with the Blake's Bets because we were 500 on the year, but I knew a week was coming, but we went 5-0. Just to recap last week, I had Auburn minus 7.5 over Kentucky. They won by more than that. Louisville +3 at Pittsburgh. Louisville did lose by 3, but with the +3, it still counts as a win. So we just snuck one out there. Oklahoma State -8 over West Virginia. They won by double digits. Baylor -16.5 over Kansas. They won by, I think, 30. And I had Texas State +17.5 at Boston College. Texas State, they almost pulled off the upset. I think they lost by 3 or 4 points to Boston College. So again, a 5-for-5 sweep. On the season, we are 7-2 right now. So if you guys, again, want to win some money, you guys want to make some bets, I know BK's over here asking me for advice on sports betting. Who better than the sports betting guru himself? Guys, here are my 5 bets for this upcoming week. So again, if you want to win some money, get in on this action. Brady, you might want to take notes because these are the 5 that are going to be winners this week. We got Memphis -2.5 on the road at SMU. I like Oklahoma State -21 on the road at Kansas. Ole Miss, I like them +6.5 on the road at Kentucky. Iowa State, I like them +7 at home against Oklahoma. And finally, I like Georgia -7 at home against Bo Nix and the Auburn Tigers.
I'll tell you this. I was 1-for-1 on the weekend, Blake. I actually bet against LSU, surprisingly.
Ooh.
So I took Mississippi State +14.5.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's all.
1-for-1, baby. 1-for-1.
All right, guys. It's time now to move on. We're going to save the pick'ems for the end. We're going to do the Q&A first this week. So we're going to move on to the Q&A. It's 5:08 right now for us. We'll probably do this to 5:20. I want to say 5:21, 5:22. So we got about 10, 12 minutes or so to do the Q&A. None from Twitter this week. We're doing strictly YouTube. Again, if you guys have questions, hit us up in the live chat. Hit us up with anything you got. It could be in regards to this past weekend of college football. It could be in regards to this upcoming weekend of college football. Just any questions you have or anything. Again, it could be not even college football related. I don't know, short rounds in the live chat. He always comes up with the best non-college football questions. So again, anything Q&A related, college football, let us know. It hit a person. It's not a question, but they said, I'd love to see Vandy go 9-1. That would be hilarious. I don't think Vanderbilt's going 9-1, guys. I don't think they're going there.
Tell you this. Sorry, go ahead. I'll tell you this really quickly about short round. He commented within the first 5 minutes or so of the video and said, he can't make it to the Q&A, so he left it in the beginning, and I wrote it down.
Great.
If you want me to do it now, I can do that. He said,
you can do it now.
What's worst, stubbing your toe, hitting your funny bone, or I think it was jamming your finger?
Stubbing your toe.
Yeah. I think stubbing your toe. Whenever you're playing basketball and you go up for a rebound and you hit your finger, that sucks.
Playing football, playing catch, it gets jammed in.
Yeah, playing football. I'm gonna go with the stubbing your toe too. The worst part is not when you stub your big toe, it's when you stub your pinky toe. That's what I think. Because it's smaller, I feel like, and takes more like a brunt of the pressure once you hit it. And I always hit my pinky toe on stuff.
I never hit my big toe because my second toe is longer than my big toe, so I get that one a lot. So that's pretty painful. But I mean, a direct stinger right to the funny bone hurts like hell.
I'll say jamming your finger. Yeah, if you jam your finger, like catching the football or whatever, I don't know. I've never gotten it caught in a door, but I can imagine if you get it caught in a door, that would hurt too.
It's like
a lot.
Feeling. You can tell immediately. It's bad.
Yeah, that is bad.
Yeah.
All right, so short round, you're the man. All right, guys. Realistic chance a group of 5 team gets into the playoffs with chaos. What percent are we given? Just give a percentage.
I'll give a 15% chance. I don't think it's that realistic, but I think that this is definitely the best chance anybody's going to have because of how crazy this season is. Biggest concern, no out of conference games. That's a problem. That's what's going to keep a group of 5 team out of the college football playoff because, you've had teams like UCF in the past and Boise State. I mean, obviously Boise State hasn't been elite in a while, but a team like Boise State from like the early 2010s when they would play the Auburns or the Oregons or whoever and would win, those are teams that would get in, not a UCF team that's playing only conference games. So, but this year I'd say 10 to 15%.
I'm going to give it like 8%. I just don't see it.
I'm going to go 16.6% because that's 1/6 of 100. And, if you're not a Power 5 team, you're that 6th team, you're that 6th conference. So you got a, 1 in 6 shot of making it.
Wow.
I'm not as high, guys. I'm going like. Oh, well, who knows if we heard that, if our viewers are going to hear that, because that was a wild time.
Who was that?
I don't know. Lyle didn't even budge.
Lyle, did you hear it?
No, I didn't hear anything.
Had to be Lyle then.
No, our house is silent. I don't know.
I wonder if it's like your mic static. I don't know, dude. That was
there was a massive static. I'm gonna go 5%. Like I'd love to see it happen. I just don't think it will because there needs to be 8 teams in the playoff this year. Guys, Toby's takes. When will Oregon State become a dynasty?
2029 and a half.
How's my mic working?
You're fine.
Cool, because I just unplugged it and plugged it back in just in case it was me. I don't think they will because Brandon Cooks and Sean Mannion and the Rogers brothers are gone. And unless they come back, I don't see it.
Hey, 2 years ago today, Eno Benjamin ran all over the Oregon State defense.
Eno was making Oregon State fans say, "Oh no."
Oh no.
Quote, former Blaze Radio sports director Scotty Gange.
And ASU fans were saying Santa Maria.
Yes.
But
Santa Maria.
I'll say 2030.
2030?
Yeah.
2035, Oregon State goes 14-0. Calling it right now. You heard it here first. I'm going to hunt down this video in whatever year what did I just say? 2035?
Yes.
2035. I'm going to come back and find this video. That's in 15 years, guys. 15 years. I'm going to do it.
All right.
He'll be 37 years old.
I'll say, hey, I'll be in my 40s.
God. He'll be in his 60s.
You won't have your license. Okay, go on.
All right, guys. Eli Larson, thoughts on UTSA and UTEP so far? UTEP is 3-1. UTSA is 3-0. I think UTEP has more wins this season than their last two combined. So UTEP, man, they're winning games this year. They're making a push.
I'm more in on the Roadrunners than I am on the Miners because I've seen the Roadrunners more often in person. And for those of you that don't know what either of those are, the Roadrunners are UTSA. So, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, hats off to them. They're playing good football, right?
Good for them.
UTEP, they're off to a hot start. They're 3-1. They're 21-point underdogs this upcoming weekend. When I was looking at the Bavard, I forget who they're playing, but they're 21-point underdogs. All right,
just
guys.
for TEP.
Who wins the NBA Finals? Two choices.
I'm going Lakers. I'm going Lakers over Heat in 6.
Listen, when LeBron's favored in a finals, he almost never loses. Like usually the result of when LeBron's in it, you get. If he's an underdog, he usually loses. If he's a favorite, he usually wins. I'm going to take the Lakers.
He's like 3-6 though, so I'm sure he's been the favorite in majority of those, aside from his first year in Cleveland.
No, most of them he's not. Most of them he's not. When he's in Cleveland and they lose, in 2018 they lose, in 2015 they lose, before Miami they would lose. Like usually he's not the favorite. I think he was the favorite in 2011 with the Heat when they lost to the Mavericks, but that's the only one, I'm pretty sure.
I'm going to go Lakers in 7. Miami's going to get them a big fight. Miami's depth in their bench, Tyler Hero, that kid's a baller. So I think he's going to be the one glue that sort of holds it all together. Kind of like, the Andre Iguodala for the Golden State Warriors. And hey, guess where he is now? He's with the Miami Heat. So
I got
Iguodala. Also, by the way, UTEP this weekend plays Louisiana Tech.
Ooh,
there you go.
The Bulldogs.
That's a tough one.
Give me Iguodala.
Dollar.
Guys, I actually did a piece today because all the SB Nation's asking all the NBA writers to give their pieces. I got Heat in 6. Now, I know it's not, my Clippers bias showing. The Heat have been the best team in the bubble. They have the best depth. And I think they're overall the hungrier team. Like, I'm sure LeBron, AD, they want to win. But those Heat, everyone on the Heat, they're a bunch of dogs. I think overall, top to bottom, there you go. It doesn't necessarily matter who has the better player. The Lakers have the Lakers have the two best players, but you got to have a solid 1 through 10, 1 through 11. And the Heat do. They have a better 1 through 10, 1 through 11. So I got the Heat. I got them in 6. Toby Stakes, he has a second question. Who's the healthiest eater? Well, I think we all know this one.
Lyle.
Yeah, I guess it's me.
Yeah. Honestly, lame.
Lyle, what was lunch today?
The PB&J.
Well, I had one, and then I had a turkey sandwich with a bunch of vegetables on it.
I had a bagel and cream cheese today. That's all I've eaten.
Dude, I had a dude, what have I eaten?
And lots, of course.
I've eaten nothing.
Yeah.
I had an Uncrustables PB&J and an iced coffee.
What grape or strawberry?
Dude, the grape ones are gross. They're terrible.
They should make orange jelly ones.
Absolutely not.
I'm on the Lyle train with this one. No.
John,
hang on. I'm putting this one up. No, I did not. I ate Chipotle at like 3 p.m.
I'm gonna assume that this one is
Pinwheel. I made it to 3 p.m.
Come on!
I made it to 3 p.m, but the bagel lox and cream cheese
diet.
Over.
The BK diet where you just starve.
Yeah, that and Jewish holiday. Hooray.
Also, I feel like the lox, if you're gonna break the fast on a Jewish holiday, it's the bagel with cream cheese and lox. That's the way to do it.
That's what it is. That's the holiday itself, is break the fast. You fast.
I happily today enjoy, Josh, for the next day. Tommy's is having buy one get one free chili burgers. So Pops and I, we enjoyed a nice chili cheeseburger from Tommy's
tomorrow too.
And it's good tomorrow as well.
Oh, I might go to Coney. I'm going out to Arizona next week. I might go out to Coney's when I'm out there.
Can I come?
Yeah, you can come.
Get in.
Let's go see David.
Get in.
No free ads, but David sponsor the show.
Yes.
All right, I'm just trying to see what other ones we got going here at the bottom. This one I can't. I wasn't into it at all. What's your favorite Transformer from Transformers? I was never into Transformers at all.
Neither was I, but I did see the first 2 movies, so I'm gonna go with. I'm gonna go out of the box and go with the one that tries to get with Shia LaBeouf in his dorm at college. That's my choice.
Josh, I'm gonna go with the canoe from Family Guy, the transforming canoe, or Megan Fox.
Yes, she can.
She's not a transformer. She doesn't count.
Oh,
the girl from college. That's why I went with the girl from college.
I'll go with Optimus Prime too, but I gotta say, like, Calvin Johnson with the nickname Megatron, that's got to be one of my favorite nicknames ever. So, like,
yeah,
I don't know. Megatron's a close second because that's where it came from. So,
all right, guys, we got time for one more question. This is I guess a fun, or it could be a bad one. What is the worst sports-related injury you've ever gotten?
Sports-related injury.
I've got 2.
I'll start. I mean, I've never had an injury. Like, I've never had a real injury. So I'll flip the question back, Andrew Koster. What is the worst sports injury you've ever had?
Well, I don't know if his was a sports injury, but his was an injury near a sporting event. So I guess that counts. Yeah. So I mean, I'll jump in for mine. I don't know if any of you guys have ever done box jumps, but slipping and scraping your shin all the way down the side of a box during a box jump is one of the worst feelings ever. Like, I think I still have a bump on my shin from what I did maybe like 7 years ago. That, and surprisingly enough, right? This is super surprising. I used to be like a competitive cyclist. Like, I used to I used to like race, and I got in a crash once, and like my fingers like here like got jammed in and like broke in and like clipped the wheel and totally wrecked there and tore up my arm and leg and knee and stuff. So that wasn't fun either.
I think so. I've never had a super serious injury. I would say that the ankle sprains or twisted ankles obviously are awful, and those are really bad, especially when you know that they're not that bad, but they like really, really hurt. But then you're just kind of out for like whatever you like that game. Maybe you're out and you can get in the next one. But that's all. I don't know. That always bothered me. and Lyle can probably attest to this. Like growing up playing baseball and getting a high fastball in the shoulder or something when you've got the laces that are kind of burned onto your skin for like a day or two, those kind of blow.
I will say that I actually have a baseball injury too.
Really? Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You know this one, Lyle? You heard this story? So I always forget about this one. It was the day I got my braces on as like a 12-year-old. Right? I get my braces on. My mom was like, oh, should he wear a mouth guard? And they're like, nah, he'll be fine. And my mom's like, you should wear a mouth guard. I'm like, nah, I'll be fine. I was batting. And I'm sitting there in the batter's box, and a pitch comes at my head, and I duck, and it like clipped my batting helmet and went down, but like hit me in the face too. And like I bit through my lip. If I had taken that, it would have probably knocked out my teeth. The day I got my braces on. That was a pretty bad one too.
Brutal.
Yeah, not fun.
Yeah, I've told you guys this story many a times, but I don't think I've ever shared it on the show. Back when I was 10, for those that play baseball, you know that there's a few jobs you guys have. There's a hitter, there's the guy that's on deck, and then there's the guy that's in the hole when his job is essentially to get the bat of whoever's at the plate. So whenever the guy gets a hit or whatever, you go out, you get the bat, you bring it back. And so I was in the hole, so that was my job. So a guy got a base hit, and it was my job to go and retrieve the bat. Well, I guess the kid that was on deck that was walking to the plate did know that I was coming to get the bat, and he decided to take not one of those, half swings where he just kind of whatever. He took a full-on practice swing as if he was swinging to hit an actual pitch, and it connected right on this elbow right here. This shattered. So this whole elbow right here shattered. I could literally feel my fingers touching each other if I did this because there was no bone because that was shattered. So I laid on the ground. My entire elbow was shattered. And I said this to you guys as well. The best part about this, the thing I remember the most, is I went back to the dugout. I'm 10. I'm crying. My elbow was completely gone. There's nothing there. I can't even move my arm. My coach said, "Can you butt the guy over to third?" And I said,
You're
Coach,
10. Why are they playing strategy?
Hey, that's what I would do if I was a coach.
And what award did you win in your baseball career, Blake?
So 2 years later, I was the recipient of the most inspirational player that year.
Comeback player of the year.
No, most inspirational, not comeback player, just most inspirational because I was always cheering in the dugout. I was always giving people high fives and whatnot. So, and the worst part is because in my league, they have like minors and majors, where usually majors is only 11 and 12-year-olds, but I guess they didn't have enough, so they had to have some 10-year-olds. I was the only 10-year-old that was in majors that year, and I lasted about 3 games before that happened. So unfortunately, my season was cut short because my entire elbow was shattered, and I had to have a cast on for about 2 or 3 months. The best part was because the cast kind of went like this, I was still able to kind of like manage. I would play dodgeball at recess because I was 5th grade, I think, at the age of 10. I would play dodgeball, and it was great because either one, I would catch the ball and get someone out and make them feel bad for getting literally out by someone that has a cast on. Or 2, if I didn't catch and I got hit, I'd say, "What, you're throwing at the kid with a cast on?" And I'd make a huge stink about it and make him feel bad. So that was fun. So that's exactly. So what happened? And here comes the static again.
Dude, the Transformers are coming for us.
The Transformers are coming for us, guys. All right, let's move on to our final segment. It's time for the pick'ems, guys. It's time for the pick'ems. I'm going to try to get the music loaded up right now. You couldn't really hear it too well last week, but, some is better than none. Can you guys hear it?
I can.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we got the pick'ems this week. Moving on to our leaderboards. Lyle still has a commanding, 3-point lead. It's not really commanding, but he's up by 3. He's got 22. Brady's got 19. Josh with 18. I'm in last with 16. We've got a lot of games this week, guys, so a lot can change moving forward. Our first game of the week, East Carolina at Georgia State.
Lakers are in the finals. I'm sticking with the purple and gold. I've got East Carolina.
I'm taking East Carolina on the road.
I'm going Georgia State at home.
I'm going to go with Georgia State at home. I like this one. Arkansas State at Coastal Carolina, the greatest field in college football history.
The surf turf is what they call it there at Coastal Carolina. The surf turf.
The Chanticleers. Look, Coastal's been they've been scoring points. They've looked pretty good, but they haven't really played anybody. Arkansas State's 1-1 against Memphis and Kansas State just beat Oklahoma and made a 17-point fourth quarter comeback. I'm taking Arkansas State, Arkansas State.
Give me Coastal Carolina. I like the surf turf. I'm with you, Brady.
I'm rocking with the surf turf, my boy Sammy, so I'm going Coastal Carolina.
And I mean, the Chanticleers.
Chanticleers.
The best name out there, the Chanticleer. I mean, it's fantastic. I want to go Coastal Carolina. Texas Tech and Kansas State. An interesting game for both.
Yeah, this one's fun. Despite beating Oklahoma, I still think Kansas State has a significantly less explosive offense than Tech. But again, Blake, your star of the week. You convinced me. I'm sticking with Skylar Thompson and Kansas State.
Yeah, I'm going to ride momentum. Kansas State wins at home.
I'd love to ride momentum, but I think, I'm going to ride momentum. I'm going to go Kansas State at home.
I mean, I don't know if you guys saw, but the post-game speech their coach gave in the locker room, it was motivational. I think those guys are going to run through a brick wall for these guys. And I think Kansas State, they're going to continue it. So I'm going to go with the good old Wildcats in honor of Bill Snyder, who's still alive.
Ole Miss somewhere.
Ole Miss at Kentucky.
You know what? Lane Kiffin didn't really impress in game one with the Rebels. Both of these teams are 0-1, but you know what? I'm going to stick with a team that put up 35 points on Florida. I've got Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin. I'm still on the Lane train, baby.
Kentucky hung around with Auburn for a while in what was kind of a weird game and a little bit of a crazy game at times. So, I mean, I know Kentucky fell out of the rankings this week, but I still think they're going to get the win. So I'm going to go with Kentucky.
I'm going with the Wildcats as well. I've got Kentucky by at least 10 points.
Guys, we went the entire episode and we didn't even mention Bo Nix once. So that just goes to show he had a somewhat decent game. If Bo Nix is good, we don't talk about it. That's how you know.
That's our motto.
I'm gonna get on the Lane train with this one. Why not? I want to have some fun with it. Let's go Kiffin. What was it? Did you guys see Lane Kiffin's quote tweet the other day, or I think it was today or yesterday, about how he sent Janikowski out for a 76-yard field goal and was fired 2 days later?
Dude, honestly, the only thing that doesn't make sense is the win, because honestly, if you have that little faith in your quarterback and this half's gonna expire and what could go wrong, dude, screw it. I'd send out Janikowski too.
And then Pat McAfee responded saying, "I respect it. I respect the decision on that."
For the brand.
Navy, we got a good old fashioned one, guys. We got Navy at Air Force.
I'm just waiting for the uniform matchup because this is bound to be a really good one, and I'm gonna wager that one of these teams, at least one, is gonna be in next week's UniWatch. But Navy's so iffy; they got absolutely routed by BYU week 1, and then barely beat Tulane last week. So I'm going to stick with Air Force in their 2020 debut game.
I'm going to take Air Force too. Yeah. Oh, that music's now getting a little loud. But anyway, I'm going to take.
Sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. It was just, at least in my ear, it was a little loud. But I'm going to take Air Force at home just because, like Josh said, Navy hasn't exactly put on its best show the first couple weeks.
In the NFL, the Falcons have been absolutely hot garbage. And so I'm going to go with the Falcons of Air Force here in college football to beat Navy. I'm going Air Force.
I'll go against the grain. I'll take Navy in this one. Someone's got to, right? Yeah. TCU at number 9, Texas.
They are absolutely not back, but you know what? Maybe they'll save some credibility against TCU. Again, like I said last week, we didn't talk about the Oklahoma State game. I'm not too worried about Oklahoma State. They still held TCU to 13 points in the Big 12, which I guess is kind of an accomplishment. But again, even looking at the box score, even watching the game, even looking at all the previews, I just don't know where TCU's points are coming from. So I'm going to stick with Texas.
I'm going to take Texas. These will be the best DBs that Sam Ehlinger sees during the regular season, but I'm still going to take Texas. He'll put up a bunch of points. He'll have a good game. Texas will win.
This is pretty straightforward. I'm going to go Texas for one reason only, because why, Lyle?
Because why not? There it is.
Why not?
Texas, yeah, they need to get the job done this week. They need to have a convincing win. Number 13, Texas A&M at number 2, Alabama. Guys, we saw Bryce Young this past weekend.
We sure did, Blake. And another game that we didn't really need to talk about was A&M just didn't look very good against Vanderbilt. And again, it's been 4 years now, and I'm just not super impressed with A&M or Kellen Mond, and I know that they've had tough schedules. So There's literally no reason to pick A&M in this game, so I'm taking the Tide.
A&M kind of has a trend of doing this, right? They move their way up in the rankings, or they start the year high in the rankings, and then when they face a really good team, they don't have much to show for it, like they did last year against Clemson. Like,
Remember when they were in the playoff picture like 2 years ago? In the first week, they were in the playoff.
Were they really? I don't remember that.
And we roasted them, like, what are you doing? And sure enough, they got like they lost like 4 games after the original playoff ranking came out.
Yeah, Todd McShay this past weekend showed his quarterback big board for his mock draft. Kellen Mond had it like the middle of the second round, and I was like, where in the world did that come from? Like, maybe I'm wrong. I've personally never been too impressed with Kellen Mond, but yeah, especially this week, I got to take Bama.
You know, I put out a poll last week during or before the Alabama game asking, all right, it's the Bama debut, and the long-awaited question is, when are we going to see Bryce Young? An overwhelming amount of you said third quarter, and hey, guess when we saw him? Third quarter. So I don't think we're going to see him as early in this game, maybe at all in this game, but I think Alabama's going to win pretty handedly over a struggling Texas A&M team. Even though they're 13th in the rankings, they're gonna win pretty handedly.
I think the spread in this game is like 17 points. I think Bama wins by at least 3 touchdowns. If you're struggling against Vanderbilt, get ready for Bama because they're gonna come. Number 18, Oklahoma at Iowa State. This is gonna be a good one.
You know what? I actually think this is going to be a good game. And you know what? Despite that interception that was actually a fumble and was one of the stupidest plays I think I've ever seen by Brock Purdy, he didn't have a horrible game overall. Like, his numbers were okay. He only threw, I think, like 4 incompletions or something like that and had a touchdown. And other than that, really bad play. It wasn't horrible. But I think Spencer Rattler comes back in the battle of the two Arizona high school quarterbacks.
Hold it here, take it.
It was.
What is he doing?
It was literally the Jameis Winston play, except he got touched. except he got touched.
This was backwards.
And Brock Purdy can see. So.
I don't know, Lyle. It's almost Jameis time at down in New Orleans. Who knows?
It might be.
Yeah.
Also, Charlie Kolar got involved last game. They like eased him in a little bit. He had like 5 catches, so close game, but OU wins.
I'm gonna take Oklahoma. There's no way Lincoln Riley lets his team lose 2 games in a row. Oklahoma will take care of business.
Yeah, Oklahoma. That 18 is not going to stick for very long. They'll work their way back up into the top 10 in the next 2 weeks, I think. So I'm going with the Sooners.
I'm annoyed because coming into the season, I was all over this game where I thought that this was going to be the game where Oklahoma can fall, where I think in a packed house, Iowa State, that's just the random place where teams go to die. I like Iowa State. If Oklahoma would have beaten Kansas State last week, I'd be taking Iowa State in this game. But there's no way Oklahoma can lose back-to-back games, I think. I just don't see it. Iowa State, they have looked shaky this year, so for that reason, Iowa State, I'm out. I'm going to go with the Oklahoma Sooners in this one. Number 12, North Carolina at Boston College.
BC's actually looked a lot tougher than I thought they would be, but there's no reason to pick UNC in this one. So to not pick UNC, I like Sam Howell. They didn't even play last week, so they kind of have that early off game to recover after looking really bad against Syracuse for 3 quarters. I've got the Tar Heels with Sam Howell. There's no reason to not pick them.
Yeah, North Carolina's got too many weapons on the offensive side of the ball. Boston College isn't going to be able to stop it. I'll take UNC.
Blake, I liked your Shark Tank reference. I got that.
I was waiting for someone to get it.
I got it late.
It took you a while to get it.
It took me a second. I'm like, I'm out. What's that from? I'm like, what is it? Shark Tank. I got it.
Shark Tank, haha.
Mount Wanahagalugi. I'm going to go North Carolina. Even though they're on the road, I think they're one of the best teams in college football. Great young quarterback in Sam Howell. I think they're going to play really well against the Ivy League team that is Boston College.
If there are prop bets out there for Sam Howell this game, take the over and everything because I think Sam Howell is going to have like 400-plus yards, 3 to 4 touchdowns. Take them. I'm going to go North Carolina. Number 25, Memphis at SMU.
So SMU's 3-0. They're 3-0. Memphis has only played 1 game and they won. But I like my guy B. White. There's no reason to not take Brady White. I'm riding with the Southern California pride and the former ASU guy, so I'm taking Brady White and Tigers.
Are you underwater right now?
Me?
Your audio
was like, oh, you sounded like
How are we
Dane.
doing?
There you go. You're fine.
You're fine now.
We good?
There you go.
Oh, I said I'm taking my guy B. White. Brady White. Goes State. And Memphis, I guess.
Yeah, I'm taking Memphis. I like Memphis in this one.
You know, Brady White in Memphis is going to say SMD to SMU. I'm going Memphis.
Oh, it's a children's show, Brady. It's a family show. I'm going to go with my Heisman
Dropping dimes and
frontrunner.
suck at signs. Wow.
I'm going to go with my Heisman frontrunner in Shane Buechele, who's looked fantastic this year for the Mustangs. So I'm going to go with SMU. Guys, our final game before the worst, probably the best game of the weekend. Number 7 Auburn at number 4 Georgia.
So kind of what Blake mentioned a minute ago, like we didn't really talk about Bo Nix at all this week, so I guess good for him. And I'm not gonna rag on him and say that he's not that good. But look, he was their leading rusher last game.
Ooh.
That's not good, guys. That's not good. So I think Auburn has some stuff to figure out, as does Georgia. But Bennett looked good when he came in. If JT Daniels plays, I think that talent-wise, that's a better look for Georgia. But he's obviously got to live up to it. I'm taking the Bulldogs in this one. And look, for Auburn, just establish some sort of run game, because it can't be Bo Nix leading the team in carries and yards.
I'll tell you what, for a game that features 2 top 7 teams, if JT Daniels does not play, this is not exactly a premier quarterback battle. I'll put it that way. Usually it'd be hard to pick Bo Nix. It's still a little bit hard to, and I'm going to take Georgia for that reason. But I actually think this is a close game, and I think it's going to be pretty low scoring, to be honest.
Georgia's a 6.5-point favorite at home. Eli Larson said in the comments a second, I'm going to put it up here. He said, and I quote, "Good teams win, great teams cover."
That's what I said 2 weeks ago.
Yeah,
after about the Citadel game.
Yeah, and Georgia's going to cover. I'm going to go Georgia.
They're one of Blake's bets. I got them at -7.
And I'm going Georgia.
You think Bo Nix is going to go down there and win at Sanford Stadium? No chance.
6.5, Blake. 6.5.
Ooh, that's even better. That's even more generous.
Even better.
Okay, here's the thing. If JT Daniels plays, yes. If for whatever reason he's not the starter and they decide to go with, Stetson Bennett or Juan Mathis, then things could be interesting. Then things might have more opportunity for Auburn. But if JT Daniels is getting the start, yeah, it's going to be Georgia. Our last one, guys, our worst of the worst. Jacksonville State and Florida State.
Is this the biggest team to play in the worst of the worst?
I think
very
this
well
is
might
not,
be.
I don't think this is the first time we've had Florida State in our worst of the worst.
It might not be.
I didn't double check because when I saw this, I was working on some stuff at the time, so I kind of just briefly looked over the pick'ems before I actually went down and added them to my notes. But I really think this is not the first time we've had them here. I mean, they're the easy pick. The Noles are the easy pick, but I always got to have a reason. So my reason is I've had a couple of Florida State guys come to the Chatham Anglers when I was working in the Cape Cod Baseball League.
Where?
And it's the Cape Cod Baseball League. It's what Summer Catch is based off of. Basically,
I thought it was Chatham.
No, you mean Chatham.
Chatham.
So basically, they have a Fenway day where all the players get to go and work out. And we were kind of there. We're on the field at Fenway Park, leaning up on the batting cage. And somebody introduces me to one of our new players, and it's a Florida State guy named Cooper Swanson. He didn't hang out with us that long. He kind of I think he ended up getting cut. He didn't see much action when he was there, but he went out of his way to come up and say hello and introduced himself. And he was like, "How's it going? I'm Cooper. It's very nice to meet you." Went totally out of his way. And would you believe that we had 3 people named Cooper with the Chatham Anglers last summer? And for that reason alone, I'm taking Florida State. I think they squeak past Jacksonville State this week. Hot take.
Look, we talk about Bo Nix a lot on this show. But let me tell you what, for a historic program like Florida State, how is it last year? Their 2 quarterbacks were James Blackman and Alex Hornibrook. I mean, that guy was one of the worst college quarterbacks I've ever seen. He's gone now. It's still Blackman, however. Yeah, Florida State will win, but I'm going to keep saying it every week. Man, have they been underwhelming. They didn't even show up against Miami, pretty much.
Florida State's going to get the win, and they're going to tweet something like, "Don't call it a comeback," back on track with the emoji with the smoke blowing out the nose. like back on track. Like you beat Jacksonville State. Like Jacksonville's not even a state. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Yeah, San Diego is, but Jacksonville's not. So
Nope.
Florida State, you're going to get the
Diego.
win. San Diego. Florida State, you're getting the win. You're going to get back on track. Tough with like 3 Fs. TUFFFFF. Florida State.
Yeah, I'm trying to get this, guys. I know this for a fact. Jacksonville State, they're not a slouch of a team when it comes to football. They're one of the better teams in the FCS, I believe. I'm trying to get this up. What they were last year. Hold on, I have to do this with one hand because I'm using my my phone for the other.
Jacksonville State plays in the Ohio Valley Conference.
Oh, this isn't. Oh, it's Jacksonville, Ohio,
Alabama.
Oh,
Alabama.
Oh, is this actually? They're in Alabama.
State University is located in the U.S. state of Alabama. Yeah,
I did not know that.
They're the Gamecocks.
I did not know they were in Alabama.
State University. They're in Jacksonville, Alabama. Dude, this changes everything.
Mm-hmm. Also, guys, I was kidding. They went 6-6 last year. Years ago, they were a pretty respectable team in the FCS. Florida State's bad. I'm gonna go Jacksonville State. And don't call it an upset because it's not. I'm gonna go Jacksonville State in this one. And that's it.
Yeah, you're the last person to speak, Mike.
That's it for the pick'ems. But that wraps up the show, guys. Any parting words before we head off for the week?
Man, I guess that's it. Wear a mask, wash your hands, don't cough in other people's mouths. Go Lakers. That's it.
Yeah.
There we go.
Josh.
I think I speak for all of us when I say wear a mask, don't cough in people's mouths, and go Lakers. Right, Blake?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Except for the last part.
Blake believes Blake believes 2 of those things, and he's a big fan of the Lakers. So you do the math on which one he doesn't like.
It's the mouth one, isn't it?
Yeah, he likes coughing in other people's mouths. Like directly in their mouth.
Hey, it was one time, it was at 2 a.m., and we were in a Taco Bell. We don't speak of that, Brady.
If I'm being totally honest, I could see Blake get coronavirus and be like, hey, guys. Or it would only be you.
Didn't Blake also spit out the side of my car and it get all over my car? Or was that Chase? That was Chase.
It was Chase. It wasn't me.
Yeah, Blake's and that's why I'm never allowed Buffalo Wild Wings again. All right.
And that's why I'm not allowed. That's why I'm not allowed at home for Thanksgiving anymore. Y'all have the number 2. All right, guys, make sure to follow the show on Twitter at the HHShow_. Lots of great content coming this week. Lots of great stuff coming this upcoming College Football Saturday. Follow us on Instagram at Harris Highlights Show. You guys can listen to the show on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. The link is in the description. Go over and search the Harris Highlights Show. Lyle, you should go over there and get on one of your workout machines to close.
Go get on the bike, Lyle. Go get on the bike right now. Go play ping pong against yourself, Forrest Gump.
You guys could become a Patreon member for $1 a month, unlock exclusive behind-the-scenes, awesome content, a lot of fun stuff. It helps the show out, and again, you guys receive awesome benefits. We had another member this past week, so definitely a cool time. All right, guys, we'll see you all, I guess, next week. Any parting words?
I'll get a new background next week. I got a new background for next week.
I'll probably have one too. And shout out to friend of the podcast, Matt Berry, who's in our intro. ESPN's Matt Berry's an Arizona State University Cronkite School Hall of Famer as of today.
We need to get him on the show soon.
Friend of the program, Matt Berry.
Yeah. There you go. All right, guys. So for Josh Schaefer, Lyle Goldstein, Brady Kling, this has been Blake Harris. Thank you guys for watching. Give this video a thumbs up. Follow us on social media. Listen on Spotify. Listen on Apple Podcasts. Send us $1 or $2. That'll help the show out. Anything you can do. Thank you guys for watching. We'll be back here next Tuesday. Time to be determined, most likely 8 p.m. Eastern, but who knows? Things come up, things happen. Keep following us on Twitter so that we guys know. Thank you guys again for watching, and we'll see you all right back here again next week.